get this session started off with a few flat ground tricks for some warm-up. It won't be the craziest trick and not the hardest trick in the world, but it will still be new. So I'm gonna try nollie, like bonk off coping, nollie, do back pivot to run to fakie. So I'm just feeling really off mentally today. So I think we're gonna try another one for the fun of it. We're gonna try to go Vicky pop shove to Vicky Smith stall with coping and then just come back in regular. Trying to get the Smith was a little bit too hard, so I'm just gonna redo it and try to get a little bit cleaner doing that one, just landing an axle and going back in. We're gonna try one more thing before we get out of here. See if I give myself the no slide big spin on this. Okay, so that idea is not going to work after all. It's back and forth between being sticky and actually sliding. So we're just going to end that for this session, but we're just going to continue this video into the next one.
Inspiration.
So I actually haven't been here in so long, but since the sunlight's lasting a little bit longer and it's nice enough out, I might as well skate outside for once. But I might be biased in saying that it's not super exciting here just because I grew up skating this park and I've done so much skating and so many things here, and especially stuff that I posted before too. Like, I've just done so much stuff here that I think just over time I just genuinely got burnt out from this park, so it's not as exciting to me as it used to be, but it's still a decent park. But I'll go ahead and give you a tour real quick before I get warmed up. So we'll start with the biggest thing in the whole park. They got this whole oververt pocket, which I didn't even realize there's a whole piece missing out of the bottom now. Yeah, this park is genuinely slowly going downhill because they've never replaced anything. So a lot of this is still the same from the last almost 20 years. So half these screws are just kind of coming out and pieces are falling apart and rotting away. But yeah. It's just a whole oververt pocket with slants that connect up to it and these two quarters on each side. And these have got to be at least 6 foot quarters because I'm about 5'7", 5'8", and they're just above my head. And then work around to the middle over here. This used to be a lot different. This actually used to be like 2 wedges with a long skinny ledge between them with no runway on each side. So it was basically one of those obstacles, which if I can find a clip of it, I'll add it in right here. Yeah, it was one of those obstacles where if you missed, and I almost did once, that you would sack it and it would suck so bad because you had nothing to touch. But now it's just a bump to bump. Basically, they push everything together and screw them together because just enough people complain about it. Nobody really touched it. But going over, we have this pyramid that's kind of angled a little bit with a curved rail on top. And the only downside with this whole section too is there's no like bridge right here. It's just open. So if you pretty much slip off any of these and come down this way, you're going to go into the crack. But there's a rail that goes across and down, a legend hubba that goes all the way across and over, and as you can see, as it goes down, it gets taller. But it is a pretty mellow hubba. I've actually done a lot of tricks on this, and to be honest, this is the first ledge that I ever did a front tail big spin on, and I'll actually show that clip real quick. And I'm not joking when I say that that front tail big spin was the first one I ever did. I never learned it on a small one. I just did it straight on this one. And this whole thing is actually just a launch ramp. So you pretty much, you can get speed because coming from this side, you got to roll in at a quarter over here. But yeah, you just launch off here. You can go into the bank and it takes you right over to that spot. And for this side, the quarter on the right's actually slightly smaller. There's 4 main quarters in the whole park, 3 of them the exact same height, and then that one for whatever reason is just slightly smaller. But there was actually at one point, I guess I was never around for it, but I heard it happen and a lot of people can attest to it, but there's actually a fire underneath the ramp. So it kind of warped a little bit. So it's still a mellow quarter, but you can definitely feel it when you ride up it. It's just not as smooth as it used to be. And you can actually see how they had to replace the wood a long time ago. And that's the ledge that actually used to be between the gap over there. But for the rest of the stuff that's been here since the beginning, there's these 3 rails down here. This is the only round bar in the whole park. Everything else is square, but it's a pretty mellow bar. It just slants up, or depending on which way you can go up or down on it. But this one's pretty fun. There's a curved rail down here as well, which is a lot longer than the one up on the pyramid. And it's a little tight if you're not used to curved rails, but it's actually a fun one to skate. And the only real flat bar, it's another square bar, but this one's a little thicker for whatever reason. Everything else is about the same, but for whatever reason they made this bar a lot thicker. So you can still lock in on stuff, but it just feels a little awkward. And I don't know how long this park's originally been around for, because I started skating when I was 8 in 2004. And once I started getting a little bit better, my parents would bring me down here in 2006. So at 10, this was the first time I ever came down to this park, and this was like one of the first main parks I ever skated. There was another one that was closer to where I used to actually live, but that one ended up just getting taken apart. So this park's at least 18 years old, if not slightly more. And a lot of the stuff is still the same from when they originally built it. But people have kind of brought their own stuff down here at points. Like, I don't know what the hell these are. I know in the last year they brought this stuff. Like little metal bars. Somebody made a curb, and this actually, I guess you can just say this is a smaller ledge of mani pad now, because this actually used to be a bench that was slightly taller than that, and the wood just rotted out, so they just took the whole bottom legs out and just left it like this. But then there's a pretty sick ledge mani pad. Both these have like that composite decking on the top, so they slide really well. And it's one of those materials too, I personally like skating it, because I found benches in the streets and stuff that are made out of that stuff, and you don't have to wax it one bit. You can just hop on it and just skate it. And somebody last year also brought this rainbow rail. I don't know who, and I don't know what the hell this is actually from, but somebody brought this thing down here. And just for a comparison on how weird this is, here's my board next to it. That's an 825. So that thing's got like a gnarly arch to it. And then in the last few years too, there was a guy that designs and builds pump tracks that installed this one here for free, or at least as like a donation. I don't know how much actually came out of his pocket, but yeah, the whole thing's asphalt too, and there's a bunch of different turns, which is it's a fun pump track, but if you're just skating normally, like unless you got cruiser wheels, your thighs are gonna be feeling it by the end of this thing because it's rough. But let me come up here real quick so I can give you guys like an overview of it. And the cool thing is they actually made it so there's like a main bank over here as well. So yeah, I don't got much else to say about this park. Like I said, it's just hard to really say a whole lot because I grew up at this park, and just because of my experiences over the years of skating it so much, it's not quite the same for me anymore. But it is still a pretty fun park though. But I usually only skate the stuff that people brought in the fly bars and stuff anymore. So we're gonna get this session started, and we're gonna skate this box right here. So it's starting to get a little bit windy, but I played around with it for a couple tries just to see how it would feel because a lot of my tricks are feeling out today. And a trick I've only ever filmed once, I think I've actually only ever done it once, was front board, back big spin out. So we're gonna try to get that again for this challenge. So it's just cold and just windy enough that after about 15 minutes of trying it, my phone shut off on its own. So I came back in my car to let it charge up again and get warm before I go back out and try it. But I'm really hoping to land that before it gets too dark.
Oh, that was it. Oh, you fucker.
Let's try something really weird on here. So I had an idea for it, but I don't know how well it's gonna work. So this wasn't too bad, but it took a minute because it's a little sketchy because there's a little bit wobbly, and with all these holes in them, you definitely feel it when you're riding up. But just for comparison, look how wide this thing overall is compared to my board. I have an 825. So it's not too bad, but when you're trying to stall right up there where all the holes are and that little crack is, it definitely felt a little awkward, but it was still a fun one to get. All right, one more idea to try before it starts getting too dark. Something I've always wanted to try, and I just never took the time. I moved these closer together so I could try to manual on the little one and then pop up 50-50 that one. Now, I have done manual and pop up to the front board, but never up to a front 50, so that's why this is a little bit different in that I will accept this for the challenge.
Damn it.
I was really hoping that one was going to work out, and just in time because the sun's starting to go down, and I don't do very well skating in the dark, so that was perfect timing when I landed that. Thank you guys for checking out this video. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. I will see you guys in the next video.